Hey guys, what a beautiful afternoon, huh? Just hanging out on the docks. I'm in Port Moody, British Columbia. Was just up at Cap's bicycle store and got to demo some of these new iGO bikes. This is a 2020 model. It's part of the Core series, which is a little bit more affordable, and it's called the Elite 2. Now they also have the Extreme 2, which is like a fat tire bike, but it uses the same Reention Kirin battery style, which is kind of cool. I'll get into that more later. That's one of the big upgrades. I covered this bike, well, you know, it wasn't this bike, it was the Elite, like original Elite back in 2018, and I thought like it was a pretty good deal. It seemed to check a lot of boxes and stuff, and so I'm back to like really dig into this one and try to explain the differences and what makes this bike unique. Because at first glance it's like, oh, you know, it's another city commuter, it's got some nice tires and racks and stuff, but there's some deeper things that that I want to touch on that really separate this out. So the price point on this is $18.99 USD or $23.99 Canadian. It only comes in this one frame size and color, which I think looks kind of nice. It's this satin metallic silver with some minimalist graphics. It's not too loud, it's professional, it's clean, and it's gender neutral, which I like. It's also very safe, so silver is highly visible and reflective. And then I did mention earlier these tires, right? These are really nice tires. These are the Schwalbe 50 cam Energizer Plus. They have Performance Line Green Guard, which is like 3 millimeters of puncture resistant lining going on, and they're a little bit wider than the 2018 tires. So these are 28 by 1.75. The old ones were 28 by 1.5. Okay, so 1.75, just a little bit wider. Look at these rims. See that they've got this like reinforcement eyelet going on. These are double wall, so they're just not going to crack as easily. They're going to hold up better over the long run, which I really appreciate. Schwalbe's a brand that I recognize. They paid extra for that. Look at the nice black spokes, the matching hub in the middle, the rack, the fork. They've done a good job. Like a lot of accessories, like black is the color they come in. But I think that the frame color that they chose really accents it nicely, and you can see they've got little paint accents as well. If you come over to this side, you can see how most of the cables are internally routed. And that's pretty cool, right? Like they stay out of the way. This is definitely a purpose-built electric bike. It's even got the integrated lights. So coming back to, you know, what makes this bike special? I'd consider this kind of a comfort-oriented commuting platform. It'd be great for riding around in the neighborhoods and stuff, but it doesn't have like the big beach cruiser tires. This has an 8-speed drivetrain, so you've got a lot of cadence options, and it's a decent climber, even though you have the larger wheels, which give you a little bit more comfort. They sort of lower that attack angle and they smooth over bumps and stuff. They do raise the frame a little bit, so thankfully this has a nice, really low standover height, and the battery shifted forward a little bit just to give you that extra, maybe your toe is going through there, or you're using the bottle cage mounts right here. One of the trade-offs with those mounts though is if you take this seat all the way down, the seat post can actually collide with that top bolt there. You can always use a hacksaw to shorten the seat post. It's 350 by 30.4, I think. So I've got all those specs back at the website, but the point being, it's a little bit of a fatter seat post as well, and you can see that the hydroformed aluminum alloy frame is flared out right here. It's a nice frame. It's like, it's very approachable and it's low, but it's not flexy, which is one of the challenges, or one of the kind of the drawbacks of having a deep wave step through like this. A lot of times you get the flexi frame, so you'll see a lot of companies will put a bar right here, and then for the best performance, you know, you get that high step diamond, but then again you have to swing your leg up over and you might end up kicking this rack, or, you know, colliding with a trunk bag. So I feel like they've done a good job, and I might as well just show you right now. If I unlock the battery, let's see here, there we go. I'm trying to be careful not to drop it. Yeah, it comes out the side like this, and see how the tube, the down tube on this bike, it's not open, it's not exposed, so it's a lot sturdier than some of the older Reention battery designs. It was called the Dorado, and you still see it on a lot of bikes, where it kind of sits into the tube. So this one's a little bit more external, still good weight distribution, but they're emphasizing or really optimizing frame strength right here, and then they're hiding all those cables in there. The first time I saw this bike, I was like, what's going on? Is this like a mid-drive? There's this boxy thing right here. But no, it's actually, it's a hub motor in the back. This is Shengy. It's a 500 watt rated, up to 650 peak, 53 newton meters of torque. It's a great motor, and the controller is 22 amps, so it's a nice controller. That's in here, okay? And then they have this it's like a high resolution 32 pulse cadence sensor built into there, so you don't have that like magnet with the discs externally exposed here. It's all inside. It's pretty well protected, and it's very accessible if you need to do some repairs. In fact, a lot of their cables are threaded like this. They got the little washer, so this is an upgrade. They paid more for this stuff. Even Jaguar, that's some nicer hardware, and that's part of how they're able to offer and, you know, support it's like a 2-year comprehensive warranty with 18 months on that battery pack at a pretty reasonable price point too. So this, again, this is one of their more affordable options. You get the Extreme 2, similar price. This one's, to me, it's like a universal do-anything bike that's going to be fairly reliable. You are paying more than some of the more value brands, but let me touch on some of the other little upgrades that you get. You get this nice plastic chain cover. That's great if you have light colored pants like I do. You get these plastic fenders. They don't rattle around a whole lot. They're going to be fairly resilient. And look at how this one's mounted. It's mounted directly to the fork with hardware. It's not like those plastic cuffs that slide around and you end up with the rubbing happening or it's buzzing. The suspension fork is a little bit cheap. It doesn't have lockout, but it does have preload adjust under these caps. You can take those off, but you be very careful. They crack pretty easily. And then you can, you know, preload the spring for your body weight. Since I'm lightweight, I usually just leave it at the default, and I don't mind a little bit of a bouncy feeling because I want comfort for my back and neck. Now check this out, ProMax adjustable angle stem. So you can bring this up for really upright body position, or if you're relatively, you know, short and you don't have as long of arms, you can lower that saddle pretty good, bring that handlebar up, and look at these handlebar. It's not that wide, right? It comes back to you, and it is a riser bar, but it's not so wide that it's going to scrape on like door entryways and stuff or collide with people if you're passing. So this is nice. It is set up to work in a city environment, a crowded environment, without, you know, getting in the way too much. So let's get back to these racks. I love that this bike comes with lights, and this light would normally be mounted here on the rack, below the rack, right? And that leaves plenty of space for putting cargo and stuff up top. You're not gonna collide with the wires a whole lot, but the problem is it doesn't point where you steer. See how the rack is frame mounted? So, you know, the shop caps, they move it up here. They're like, yeah, we think it's better up here. They got this little bracket and it's not a big deal for them. Maybe your shop could help you do this as well. But now, see, it collides with those wires a little bit. It's tough to get all of those things right and still have room for a rack. This thing it's mounted really well directly to the frame, so it's not gonna spill. Like a lot of those cheaper racks that are mounted to the fork, they move as you steer and they impact your steering response time and the weight of the whole thing. It's a trade-off. So this thing is rated at 9 kilograms, which is great. And then in the rear, this is a great rear rack. It's rated at 25 kilograms, roughly 55 pounds. And see, it's mounted with 4 bolts to those seat stays. And it's got a nice flat platform on top for adding like a trunk bag or something, maybe a child seat that could clamp on the sides. Comes with this triple bungee, which is really, really handy. I used it for those boxes on the way over here. And then it's got these pannier hangers, which use standard gauge tubing. And see how they're set down a little bit. So you're not gonna, you could do both. You could have like a trunk bag and panniers and really load this thing up, which I think is awesome. But again, you know, you're trying to get on the bike, swinging your leg over, and you might have a pile of stuff here. So that's why the step-thru, you know, and that's great. They have the rear light mounted in a perfect position because it's protected by the bars on the sides. And since this is like a direct order bike, I think you can get it in some shops, but they also sell it direct online. It comes in a box. You can be unpacking this thing, and maybe in shipping it gets turned upside down or something. You don't want those lights to get busted. So the fact that they mounted them here is pretty good. When you get this bike, a couple of things you're gonna have to do is mount this front rack, mount this handlebar kind of stem thing to the steerer, mount the light and maybe the front fender a little bit. There's not a whole lot to do. They say it's like 95% assembled, and again, you got that nice warranty and good support. iGO's been around since 2006. It was one of the like first companies that I'd heard about in 2012 when I started. So these guys are like, they've been around for a long time. They've really improved their designs over the years, and it's neat to me that, considering their other bikes are like pretty high-end, you know, more premium, they've given you a lot of those premium features at a pretty good price. So, you know, yeah, these are kind of basic pedals, but they got the rubberized flat on top, so you're hopefully not going to scratch your shin as much. This is a little bit more like around town kind of a pedal, right? And that's really what this bike is oriented for. Grips, a little bit more basic. They aren't locking, but they have that sort of semi-ergonomic, like bulge kind of a setup here. The drivetrain, it's not my favorite shifter. This is not a two-way lever, it's only one way, so you have to use like your pointer finger and then your thumb, but at least it's a 3-step on the low, so you can dump the gears pretty easily. Back here we've got Shimano Altus, so it's like tourney and then Altus. It's just the second step up. It's like, gets the job done, probably good enough for getting around town. 11 to 32 teeth on that 8-speed cassette, rust-resistant Z-chain, standard 42 tooth, steel chainring, nothing special. There's no real guide. It doesn't have like narrow wide teeth, but for riding around town it's probably good enough. And there's that quick disconnect and then like a little kind of a slap guard right there as well. So they've really nailed all the details. And again, I like that even though you might be you know, in a position where you got a bottle cage mounted and it'd be easy to kick, at least they gave you the option, right? A lot of companies just don't even include that, and that can be kind of a bummer. So this is what you get with the bike. You got like a little manual, gives you all the details you need for the display, and the display is really cool because it's got all these error codes, so you can pretty easily figure out if there's an issue, what it is, and then all those quick disconnects and the very easy to access controller, they can replace those easily for you, send you a new one, plug and play, you're good to go. A lot of the other bikes, a lot of that stuff's kind of inside the frame tubing or even built into the battery, so the batteries are more expensive to replace too. So that's another benefit. Like, they've really thought this out to try to make it modular and durable in that sense. So got some tools, you know, real basic stuff. Here's the charger. It's just a 2-amp charger. It's nothing real special. It's not the smallest, but it's also not the biggest. Gets the job done. And if you had that trunk bag or backpack, you could just, you know, bring it along with you and top off that battery. Again, 48 volts, 13 amp hours. It's a decent size, gets the job done for a bike like this. We're seeing some bikes that have like multiple battery packs and stuff, but they cost more. And then there's the integrated battery pack, but they're just not as cheap to replace. So if you wanted to get a couple batteries, I guess my only complaint is how long it is. And when you take it off, there isn't like a handle. This weighs, that's like 8.7 pounds just for the pack. The bike, as you see it with all the accessories, is about 62 pounds. So it does weigh a little bit more, but not as much as if, I mean, again, that's with the front rack, which you could take off. It doesn't have metal fenders, which would add weight. You know, this probably adds a little bit of weight, but then again, it makes it a little bit more durable and stuff. So I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking through this. It's very unique. It's a very purpose-built bike. I haven't seen anything else quite like this one. So let's go ahead and boot this thing up. But first, kickstand, rear mounted, good position, no pedal lock, and then the brakes. Almost skipped over these. These are 180 millimeter Tektro Aries mechanical disc brakes. It's got the integrated bell right here. There it is, and the rubberized edges. These are my favorite mechanical disc brakes, and mostly because the levers are really comfortable and they're not as cold because of that rubber, and the bell is really like durable and fun. But you know, they are mechanical. That's one of the big trade-offs. You've got this powerful motor, efficient, good balance and all that. It would be nice to have hydraulic brakes because the right brake, here's the lever over here, it has to go a lot further, and over time, see how it's kind of aimed up? Water and gunk can get in there, and then it's slower, it doesn't release as quickly, takes more hand effort. So for me, that's one of the big compromises of this bike. And it's, you know, it's worth pointing out. And I think you could potentially upgrade those yourself, but now you're talking time and money and stuff. So that's one of the areas where they kind of cut costs and, you know, tried to make this a little bit more affordable. And now onto the display. So this is a key display. It's different than the one I saw in 2018. It does not have a USB charging port, nor does the battery pack. And I asked iGO about this, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that. You know, it's nice to be able to charge your phone for GPS or, you know, some other electronics accessories. And they were like, you know, we thought about it, but then we thought that the battery was going to have built in. And then I guess since this is the first year that the Reention Kirin is out, they just didn't have it. So another little trade-off. Very simple, easy to use display. You have to reach over the trigger throttle a little bit, which isn't a huge deal, but worth mentioning. Just hold that power button. It's grayscale, backlit LCD. We got 5-bar battery indicator, current speed right there. and pedal assist levels. And they've got it set up here with 9, which is like a lot in my opinion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thankfully, you can kind of feel your way through this thing. You don't need to look down because there are only 3 buttons and they're shaped uniquely. They don't feel like they're going to be vulnerable, like they're not going to get ripped up super easily. And you can override with a throttle in 1 through 9, not with 0 though. So you know, at any given time, if you go all the way down to 0, you've just got like a bicycle with lights and like a little readout, which I guess that's a decent safety thing. And the fact that you can override at full power in the other levels is great. So then at the bottom we have odometer, and if we press the power button, we go to trip distance, time, trip time, and then watts, power. And in the middle here, we can actually go to like max speed and average speed if we just keep cycling through. So very cool. We hold the plus button, the screen actually goes backlight, and we get the headlight with those 2 pretty intense beams. It's a decent light. And then the rear light, this is the Spinningo Duxo. It works well. There's no like brake light activation or anything, but I should point out that we do have motor inhibitors on both levers. So, you know, if you're riding this thing and you accidentally press the throttle, or you're in pedal assist 9 and you didn't mean to and the motor kicks on, those brakes are going to override, which is really nice. Again, no flashing mode or some of the other fancier lights that we've seen recently are starting to add some new features, which I like. But the fact that these are integrated and they come and they're positioned in a pretty tough way, I feel like it's a win. And then the final piece is holding plus and minus, and that's going to get us into kind of the settings and stuff. And you can use that little guide to change like the backlight settings, or get some different error codes and stuff. I think you can hold plus and minus again to get, you know, voltage and some of these other menus, right? So that's the quick overview. I don't want to get into quite everything. And I think we just hold the power button and then the power button again, and we're back out and we can just go for a ride. So I think that's what we should do. It seems like everyone's bringing their boats back for the day. Hope they had a great time fishing, and I hope you're having a good day too. Let's get to it. Stow that kickstand. I like that it's not hitting the disc brake rotor, and that it's, yeah, just positioned really well. You're getting all the little points here. You can hear the motor. It is a planetary geared motor, which freewheels very efficiently. There's no cogging drag or anything, but you do get a little bit of rrr. So I want to show you that. I'll take it all the way up to assist level 9, just so you can hear it. And I'm gonna hit the throttle first. Right, so you can definitely hear it, but now I'm gonna take it down to level 3 or 4. I'm actually going to use pedal assist, so you won't be getting a full power that the throttle would give you. You can still hear it, still hearing it a little bit. I'm going to take it down to 2. I still hear it humming a little bit, and I'm just not getting the higher top speeds like before. So, you know, my takeaway is that the motor does make a little bit of noise on this bike, but you're getting a pretty peppy feel. Like it's pretty, yeah, it's, you know, you feel it. This bike takes off, and it is a class 2 electric bike, up to 20 miles per hour, 32 kilometers per hour, and you can reach that top speed pretty easily. Okay guys, from here you can see that rust resistant Z chain, the nice chain cover, keeping my pants clean and dry today. 42 tooth steel, just basic chain ring up front, 11 to 32 tooth cassette, 8 speeds in the rear with the Altus derailleur. I'm going to cruise along in different levels of assist so you can hear that motor. It's very responsive with that 32 pulse electronic cadence sensor. It is cadence, so you know, on the one hand, if you push really hard, it's not going to make a difference really in terms of how the motor responds. It's not like going to feel as natural, like you're actually engaging the bike as if it was a part of your body, only superpowers. It's more just, did you move the cranks or not? And the sensor is very good. It's sensitive. This bike does feel a little more like go, you know, it doesn't ramp up quite as smoothly, which means it might use the battery faster, especially in those higher levels of assist. But for someone like me with knee sensitivity who also wants to be kind of sporty, this bike feels nice. It feels active to me and powerful. And I like that. Yeah, again, 53 Newton meters on that hub motor in the rear from Shengy. There's not a lot of labeling or branding. Again, it's black. The spokes are black in the rear as well. Really good with the colors. This bike looks great. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna do maybe level 3 assist to start out with. You can kind of listen to how quickly it starts. Very nice. I love that you get full power assist with that throttle. And for those of you who want a Class 1 electric bike, you don't want the throttle, again, you can just unscrew that, take it off, no problem. But it's a good setup. It really feels empowering, like I can control the bike, I can add more power if I want to. Pedal assist starts super fast, fades out pretty quickly. Yeah, it's good stuff. This time I'm going to take it all the way up to level 9, and again, 9 clicks. It's kind of a lot, but this is basically giving you the same power that the throttle gives you, only it's activating based on your pedaling. Brakes are working well. They are brand new and they are squeaking a little bit, but they're getting the job done. 180 millimeters is great, especially with the larger wheel diameter here and the potentially like loaded up bike. I think the max weight rating on the bike itself is 250, so keep that in mind if you're adding a lot of weight to those racks, because that is going to contribute even more to the frame flex. But otherwise, I think it's handling it really well. I'm going to try a frame flex ride here. Just shake the bike around. Yeah, you know, I feel the frame flex a little bit, but standing up and pedaling feels comfortable to me. And there are some step-through bikes, especially the older ones with like the rear racks batteries that are like already heavy, that just you totally feel it. It feels soft, whereas this feels a lot tighter and just a little sportier that way. It gives me some confidence. Just rode up this hill for a nice view and wanted to show you this cool like weather vane thing with these boats. Just kind of a neat urban sculpture. And again, with the throttle, and again, those lights are looking really good. This little hill was no problem. I didn't have to stand up. The throttle got me all the way. That was pretty nice. Well, glad I got the fenders going. I think I'm staying pretty dry and clean. This is fun. Nice. I gotta love that, because it's not always sunny and dry when you're, you know, commuting to work or whatever, what have you. And that was pretty quiet too. Not getting a lot of rattle. Maybe a little bit of creaking because of the racks and stuff. There's a little bit more weight on this bike. But what I was trying to say earlier is that, you know, the frame feels stiff. It feels solid, and that's not something you get from every step through. You know, even just like shaking it. There's a little bit of vibration from the end. Yeah, so I get, you know, there's a little bit of that, but when I was riding it, it felt really good. It's definitely, as far as deep step throughs go, it's definitely feeling a little bit more sturdy than some of the alternatives. If you look at my body position right now, I'm definitely upright, very comfortable. I'm 5'9", I'm not having to lean really far forward because of the way they got those handlebars positioned. Go off this curb here. Yeah. Yeah, feeling pretty good, feeling good. Guys, I think that's about it. It's been a wonderful evening. I hope this answers all of your questions, but you know, feel free to chime in using the comments or back at the site and the forums. I've got a really cool comparison tool, so you can actually see my review for the Elite, like original edition, and you know, compare these back to back and see what they've really changed, and determine if it's worth spending a little bit more for one of the iGO bikes with the integrated battery, or if this is good for you. As usual, I love y'all. I hope you're doing well. Ride safe. We'll see you in the next one.